Election races are heating up, from a contentious New Jersey gubernatorial debate last night to a now viral interview. That TV interview with former Democratic Congresswoman Katie Porter, who's running for California governor.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, man?
We've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered our follow-ups.
I don't care.
I am an investigative
reporter. I have never
reporter.
had to do this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end
a
an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters?
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you. And I don't want this all on camera.
Let's bring in Tara Setmayer, former GOP communications director and co-founder and CEO of the Seneca Project. Here in studio, Julie Roginski, Democratic strategist and author of the Salty Politics newsletter on Substack. Conventional wisdom, Julie, is that one viral moment can change the trajectory of a campaign. Is that one of those moments?
It's not a good look. And as somebody who runs a nonprofit dedicated to good workplace behavior, that's not modeling good behavior. It's not a workplace issue, but she does have workplace behavior issues, according to former staffers. Look, why can't we just treat people with respect? You don't have to emulate Donald Trump at everything. You don't have to sit there and treat a reporter who's doing her job like she works for you. She doesn't, right? You're a journalist. You get to ask whatever questions you want. I'm not going to rip my mic off if I don't like your follow-up questions. The reality is, if you don't want to do it, just don't do the interview. But if you've committed, you've got to do it. It shows that she's not into transparency. It shows that she's not into respect. It shows that she's not up to the task of governing a state of millions and millions of people.
Wow, you go that far.
I do. Listen, I don't know where her policies are. I'm not from California. I don't pay much attention to California. But I do pay attention to something like this. And if somebody is going to treat a fellow constituent this way, maybe this is not the job for them.
Tara, once a viral moment happens, people go digging, right? And Politico has just released a video of Porter kind of tearing into a staffer during an interview she did 4 years ago. Take a listen to that.
We're going to lose more than 500,000 Californians dying prematurely to air pollution and other problems. And the state could lose... Get out of my shop. You also were in my shop before that. Stay out of my shop. Okay, I'm going to start again.
Look, it's uncomfortable to watch, as was the first one. But here's my question. Would the reaction be different if the candidate was a man? Is there still a double standard for women in politics, or is this just bad?
Well, first, let me say that as a former Hill staffer, no one should ever be treated that way. I was fortunate enough to never be treated like that on the Hill, but these are not rare occurrences. You hear about this all the time, how members mistreat their staff, and there's a reputation around the Hill and people find out about it. I think it's bad all the way around, and people need to be responsible for their own behavior. Now, is there a double standard? Are women treated differently? Absolutely. All you have to do is look at how Hillary Clinton was treated when she ran for president versus Donald Trump. Look at how Kamala Harris was treated last year against Donald Trump. Look at the way the media treats people in the administration, like Stephen Miller, who can have a meltdown on television, or Donald Trump threatening people constantly, or Tom Homan, the ICE czar, the border czar, and the nasty things he says. Go down the list of men who behave badly, but are seemingly rewarded for that with more power. You even have studies that show that women-led businesses, it's tougher for them to get funding from VCs, that women-led organizations and businesses are treated more harshly when it comes to their records or their failures compared to men. I mean, my organization, the Seneca Project, we're women-led. It's the same thing. We struggle all the time for funding, despite being an award-winning messaging and content organization. So there is clearly a double standard in the way that society views how women behave versus men and what's considered good and bad behavior, and that shouldn't be the case. But with this case with Katie Porter, bad is just bad, and she, to Julie's point, I would say is unworthy of representing the entire state. If that's how you treat your staff, imagine what she thinks about her constituents.
Well, meantime, we saw a very testy series of exchanges at the final debate of the New Jersey governor's race last night. Here's that.
I think the people you got addicted and died deserve better than you. And I'll tell you, yeah, tens of thousands here as you published misinformation.
The difference between me and the Congresswoman, I got to walk at my college graduation. I've never broken the law. She had to pay federal fines for breaking federal law.
So both sides deny the accusations. Is it about the details, or are we in a place where the most important thing is, and I think you kind of touched on this in your last answer, you got to look tough?
So look, I worked in New Jersey for 30 years, and I can tell you what people in New Jersey care about is not that nonsense on either side. They care about affordability, and they're either going to blame the Democrats who've been in charge for the last 8 years, Governor Murphy, who's been the Democratic governor for the last 8 years. They're either going to blame him, or they're going to blame Donald Trump for the fact that they can't afford to stay in their houses and everything costs more. And it's just a question of which candidate is able to mobilize voters to blame the other party for their plight. I mean, that's what the only thing that matters in New Jersey. I have prepped virtually every single statewide candidate, except for Mikey Sherrill, who's run for office in New Jersey for, as I said, 30 years. And I think these debates are kind of a waste of time. Nobody watches them. Go on TikTok, talk to voters that way. But the fundamental thing here is whether she walked to her college graduation or whatever she accused him of, the reality is all people care about is being able to stay in their homes, pay their property taxes, send their kids to school, get on New Jersey Transit when it's not breaking down, to come in and watch the Knicks game at Madison Square Garden. That's what they care about, not this nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, look, of course, Tara, you're not getting huge numbers for people watching a debate, right? And the people who are watching a debate are people who probably are like me, you know, or journalists, or there's somebody who has a vested interest in a candidate, wants to see how they do. But that brings me to the interesting question of viral moments, which is what people do watch out of debates, versus money. We are expecting, Tara, to see more record-setting fundraising in the next year. Roy Cooper just raised $14.5 million in 65 days in his run for North Carolina Senate. Democrats are investing $5 million in Virginia's legislative races. How much of an impact can all that money have compared to the impact of these viral moments? What's the impact? What's the value, for example, of Katie Porter to the other people in the race? Because everybody's watching that now.
Yeah, it's we live in an era of attention-grabbing moments. You know, back in the day, it used to be about what headline you could get in a print newspaper, or whether you got on the nightly news. Now it's all about viral moments. Most people watch their news and get their news from social media apps. So we look at how much money, even from back when Donald Trump ran the first time, how much money he raised compared to Hillary Clinton. It wasn't about money. It was about media attention, because a lot of that free media, or that free viral moment now by way of social media, is much more valuable. So having money is important. You need to have that money for ground operations, get out the vote, voter registration, being able to put up ads, and communicating one-on-one voter contact. So money is important. But we all know that the way that people communicate with each other is over with their phones, with their devices, and whether it's digital advertising or whether it's those viral moments that are clipped, and you have independent journalists and influencers now that spread that, that's really currency. We live in a new era. So what happened last night in New Jersey, actually, there were some very good moments for Mikey Sherrill as a Jersey girl, even though I live in Virginia now. I'm glad to see that she's doing better in this race, but they've got to run like they're behind. And I live in Virginia, and I can tell you that I have never seen so many ads and so much money for state and local races that are going on here than I have now. So that is having an impact for sure in a state like Virginia for these legislative races, which are so important because people are now paying attention to what's going on in their states, because states are the first line of defense against what's happening with Donald Trump and the federal government. And more people, particularly here in Virginia, that's impacted by the government shutdown and DOJ, are paying close attention to. And you can only do that when you have money and you put the content on TV.
Tara Setmayer, Julie Roginski, thank you both.